On the Choose to Think podcast, I will encourage and empower you to engage and optimize your best thought life in practical, meaningful ways so that you can live day by day in joy, peace, and God's purpose despite all externals. This is Victoria, and welcome back to the Choose to Think podcast. I'm so glad you're here. Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Choose to Think Inspirational Podcast. This is Victoria, your host. And today on the show, we have an extraordinary guest who has made significant waves in the film industry, particularly in faith-based storytelling and Christian entertainment. And don't we desire that? Raise your hand if you've been on the warpath trying to get wholesome entertainment before the eyes of your children and grandchildren. Chevonne O'Shaughnessy is the co-founder and president of America Cinema International. That's ACI. Matter of fact, we talk about her YouTube channel called ACI On The Go, and she's got like 650,000 subscribers there. I know you're going to want to subscribe. Her remarkable journey in the film industry spans decades, marked by her unwavering dedication to producing films that inspire and uphold strong moral values. From her early days at Quest Entertainment to founding American Cinema International, Chevonne has consistently created content that enriches lives and encourages viewers like you to reflect on their values and beliefs. She has over 650,000 subscribers on her ACI On The Go YouTube channel. That's ACI On The Go YouTube channel. And she offers free inspirational content to a global audience. Today, she's going to share her journey and share just insights into her journey, the impact of faith-based film, and the mission really behind American Cinema International. It was so fun to chat with her, and really my heart was just going out to her with such gratitude. I felt like I wanted to thank her over and over again for the work that she's done as she spearheaded a mission to put wholesome content on the market. You and I both know, without a doubt, that that's no easy job. I mean, you can look at Hollywood and it's money, right? You think about the money involved, the folks who are directing all of this and managing all the CEOs. And I don't even know the half of it, but I do know that I've struggled as a mom to provide wholesome entertainment for my kids, for my grandkids to some extent. Matter of fact, actually, my grandkids, with them, we seldom watch anything on TV because I watch my grandkids one day a week. It's such a blessing to do that. And we're generally outside, we're playing, we're doing crafts, science projects, baking something, or they're just playing together. They might be reading, playing chess or checkers, playing make-believe, just little things like that. However, for the entertainment that I might have in my house, I want to make sure that it's wholesome. Have you ever thought about who are those people who are in the trenches? They are in the arena fighting this out and trying to put wholesome entertainment before you. We just go to the movies and we try to choose something that's age appropriate and something that, we go on to Focus on the Family, plugged in online and look at their reviews and make sure there's nothing that we would that we don't want our kids to see or whatever. Or even us, I struggle to go, and Jim and I struggle because we're like, okay, we got to prep for this. We don't go see our movies anymore, for example. Those sorts of things that we just have to be careful about. And so here on the show today, this is a long way for me to say all of this, but it's heartfelt. I'm so excited to welcome her and to applaud her and to be grateful to God that He placed on her heart this desire to be a world kingdom influencer, a change maker. And certainly she's done that. You're going to get a real glimpse of her tenacity and her drivenness and her stick-to-itiveness. And she's also extremely creative. She talked about a few moments and gave some stories where she had to kind of come up with something new, a new way to do something, a new way to get into this market. And she's just so clever. So please join me in welcoming Chevonne O'Shaughnessy, the co-founder and president of American Cinema International.
Oh, Victoria, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is very exciting.
Well, everyone knows a little bit about you, and your journey in the film industry is quite remarkable. But I have a question, and it's how has your faith guided your decisions and shaped your career path?
The biggest thing of my faith has been letting go of the steering wheel. When you're a single mom and you're just getting into the business, you're like, I control it. I know what I'm doing. I'm holding on to that steering wheel. But until you kind of let go of that steering wheel, thinking that you have the knowledge to do it instead of letting God do it, I think was one of the biggest things that I had to let go. I just had to let go and say, you know what? I trust in you. Whatever the journey's going to be, I think I know, but whatever it's been, it's even been more. And it's been better and more incredible when I just let go and trust in him.
So, okay, how did you do that? I always want to know how people do things. And I know that's not an easy question to answer, but does anything come to mind? I mean, I don't know if you had this moment, this epiphany where you're like, okay, I am surrendering my life, because that's something probably every viewer and listener can relate to, no matter what their profession, their ministry, their passion in life. There's that point where we just take our hands off. But do you remember actually how you did that?
I just remember being in the car driving in Los Angeles. There wasn't that much traffic, thank God. And I'm just like, I'm not moving forward. I'm not doing what I think I want to do. And until I turned around and I said, I just have to believe. It's more than that. It's just believing and just waking up every morning and just I know I'm making my steps. I get up, I do my things, I take care of myself, I walk 5 miles, and I do everything that I think I'm supposed to do, or in my head I think I'm doing. But at the end of the day, I'm not panicking anymore. Where I used to panic, I used to worry, I used to think I knew how to control things, that at the end of the day, when I started doing that, things just started becoming more easier, just a lot more easier in my life.
It's interesting that you noted kind of a moment in time when you had this shift in your life. And I don't know how old you might have been, and maybe I could even just ask your story in general about how you came to know Christ. What was that journey like for you? Because that is a great kind of a launch point, even to where you got to where maybe you were a Christian for years, but then suddenly you were still trying to control things and things shifted. But could you share a little bit about your background?
I would say that I grew up, I am my Catholic, and my family went to church. But until I went to really a Catholic camp, where you're there with the girls and there was nuns there and everything, that you kind of have that feeling of Christ was there. I mean, you go to church sometimes, and I don't know if you do, but I used to go to church, say, okay, I'm doing what my duty is, and yes, I'm doing it, and blah, blah, blah. But it didn't really feel it until I was at that camp. And the other part was when I was in boarding school, there was a day when I was trying to be rebellious with the school, and I'm saying, today I'm not going to church. Everybody can go to church. I am not going. I am going to sit here. And the nuns, they were very nice. They turned and said, Chevonne, it's okay. You don't have to go. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my gosh, how come I never said this before? If I said this before, I wouldn't have had to go on every single day, or not every day. We used to go twice a week. But I was like, why didn't I say something before? This is great. Everybody else has to go. I'm going to sit in the classroom and I'll do what I want. And I remember sitting in the classroom thinking, whoa, Chevonne is great. And then all of a sudden, that nun that you don't really talk too much with, but the one who kind of cleans the church, the one you kind of know, but you really don't know, she kind of walks in the classroom and she says to me, she says, "How you doing, Chevonne?" I said, "I'm doing fine." She goes, "Why don't we go for a walk?" I'm like, "Okay, well, as long as I'm not going to church, I'm good. Okay, let's go for a walk." So we start walking around the school and she starts asking me questions like, "Do you have a nice house?" And I'm like, "Yes, I have a very nice house. Thank you." Then she goes, "Do you have food on the table? I mean, are you fed? I mean, do you have everything you kind of want?" I'm going, "Yes." "And do your parents love you?" "Yes." And she just kept going on with these kind of questions. And then after the end of the question, she just looks at me, she goes, "What's 1 hour, Chevonne? What's 1 hour to say thank you for everything that you have?" And in some way, I really dislike that now because every Sunday or some other time when I'm thinking I don't want to do it, her voice gets in my head
That's
and she
right.
goes, "Just 1 hour, Chevonne. Just 1 hour to
Yeah.
say thank you." And
Wow,
yeah,
that was so impactful. Isn't it
it
amazing
was.
how just some person at one given point in our history can say something that's such a sweet way to teach a lesson to a young lady, and your heart, kind of grabbed hold of that. And even to this day, you are using that, what is 1 hour? That's
Just 1 hour,
that's
yes.
really that's really great. So from there, then what made you get into this particular industry? What would make anyone go in that direction? How did that come about? Can you explain that a little bit too?
It's I was, my life is like you said, I thought I was in control. I thought I knew everything that was going on. I was living in Rome. I was married to an Italian. My daughter was born in Rome. My dad had bought me an apartment and paid for it, and he bought me cars. So basically, my life, I had put 2 feet into Italy, and I was going to be an Italian. I was going to live in Italy, and this was going to be my life. And I had just finished from the American University in Rome with an international business degree. And on top of all that, my father back in the 80s was also letting me have from a trust $8,000 a month net.
Wow.
So,
In
I mean,
the
and I'm only
80s.
25 years old. I mean, 24,
Right.
25 years old. I had my apartment paid for. I had the cars paid for. And yes, you can go get your hair done. Yes, you can go shopping. But after a while, it kind of gets boring. So I went back to school. I wanted to finish my degree. And once I got my degree, it was 2 weeks or 3 weeks afterwards, I got a telephone telegram, and it was from some lady, and I never knew you could get a telephone telegram for starters.
Yeah.
But then she was speaking to me in English, and I was living in Rome. So I'm like, "Oh my gosh." And she goes, "Well, I have a telegram from your father." And I said, "Okay, what is it?" "No more monies."
Oh,
I know. So, I mean, my husband was working, but my dad did it to both of my twin sister and I. We had just finished our degrees, and I was like, of course, my first reaction was like, poor me, what am I going to do? This is the
right.
end. And then after my hour of crying, I was thinking to myself, okay, now what do I have to do? Let's get together, Chevonne.
Hmm.
And I said, well, I have the apartment that's paid for. I got the cars that are paid for. I said to myself, how much as a woman can I make in business in Italy versus the United States?
Okay.
The United States went out.
Right.
And even though everything that I wanted and everything that I loved about Italy, because I loved Italy so much, the United States went out. And I told my Italian husband at the time, sell everything and just come meet me in the United States because we're going to have come up with another plan. We're going to have to come up with another plan of how we're going to live. And so we went back. I went back to Orlando, Florida, where
Okay.
my mother was at, feeling disillusioned, feeling depressed. You're back in your
Mhm.
old room as a kid that you grew up in. I'm back in
Wow.
Orlando, which is not where I wanted to live. But I'm sitting there on the desk in the kitchen and I'm writing my resume out. And my mother comes up to me and she goes, Chevonne, guess what? I'm like, what, Mom? She goes, Universal Studios is opening up here in Orlando, Florida. And this is me and my mom. So, SeaWorld, Circus World, Disney World, Busch Gardens, every park in the world is already in Orlando. I don't care, Mom, about parks. Your daughter has a degree from the International American University in Rome. I'm going to do something import-export. Don't talk to me about parks, even though I was a tour guide at 16 at Disney World. So I said, no, not going to do it. So I was going to the Chamber of Commerce and I'm trying to find something. And 3 months had gone by and I had nothing, Victoria, literally nothing, not even an option of something. So all of a sudden I got this call from the Orlando Convention Center and they said to me, why don't you come down and apply for a job? We have a position that's open. I grew up in Orlando. I went to high school in Orlando, so I know the streets. And for some reason, as I'm driving to this job interview, I get off on the wrong exit, Victoria. Oh. And you know how the freeways are high?
Oh, yeah.
So as I'm exiting the freeway and I'm coming down, I'm seeing all the land that is now Universal Studios and it's under construction. And I had not seen it yet. Even though my mother had told me about it, I was like, I had not seen it. And as I'm coming down, you know, the one thing I feel that I have with God is he kind of guides me. So I hear this voice in the car with me that's saying, go in, go in.
Wow.
And I went into the gate, talked to this poor Black man standing in the heat of Florida in a full suit, ask him where the employment agency is. And he gives me 7 miles out of my way. Now, this is before GPS. This is before MapQuest. This is before cell phones. And if you know Orlando, Florida, there's a lot of swampland.
Right.
So I'm driving these 7 miles thinking I'm totally lost. Where am I at? Why am I doing this? This is so stupid.
Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey? Get your copy of the Choose to Think 365-Day Devotional by yours truly. It's a powerful guide to renewing your mind and living your best thought life, featuring scripture-centered devotionals endorsed by Christian songwriter Jenny Owens and applauded by Sherry White of the Messy Christian blog, who says, this is a game changer for our Christian walk. Dive into 5-minute daily segments covering faith, purpose, relationships, emotional health, and physical wellness. But that's not all. Complete your journey with the Choose to Think companion journal. Document your reflections, share with a partner or group, and celebrate every thought-by-thought transformation that you enjoy. This is your chance to supercharge your brain and start living your best thought life today. Click the link in the show notes to peek inside and order your devotional and companion journal now. This combo makes a wonderful gift for you to do with your loved ones, or in a group of friends, or in your small group. Your transformation begins with a single thought. Isn't it time you choose to think? Get your copy today.
And then all of a sudden I come across a clearing where you have all these trailer parks. And that's where the employment agency was. Okay. So I parked the car and literally as I'm getting out, I'm fighting with myself in the parking lot, Victoria. I'm going, I don't have time to do this. I have to go to this job interview. Why am I in this parking lot? Why am I here?
Oh my goodness.
Even though I listened to it, I'm going, why? And I felt 2 hands in my back going in.
Pushing you.
So I went into the front desk and I asked the man, I said, I'd like to apply for a job. And he looks at me and goes, what would you like to apply for? And again, Victoria, I told you I was fighting with myself in the parking lot. So I'm looking at him going, I don't know. I don't even know why I'm here.
Oh no.
And he kind of looks at me like, what's wrong with you? So he was very nice and he turned to me and he said, well, tell me about yourself. Well, Victoria, I turned into a peacock then. I'm like, well, my name is Chevonne O'Shaughnessy. I just came back from Rome, Italy with an international business degree. I speak Spanish, I speak Italian, and I speak English. And his head goes like this to the side and he goes, you speak Italian? I said, yeah, I was living in Rome and I speak fluent Italian. He goes, well, one of our producers that's using the backlot to make movies just went to a market to sell the movies in Italy. and the Italians totally took them. Maybe you should apply there. I didn't even
Okay.
know. This is not something I knew at all. So I applied. 500 other people applied.
Wow.
And 2 weeks later, I was sitting at the Cannes Film Festival. And last May was 35 years ago. So I have
Wow.
done nothing. I didn't even go to the other job interview, just so you know. I didn't even show up at the other convention center. I just knew this was it.
Wow.
So, and it was everything. It was everything. It was, it was a different widget. I just said, but I'm selling the world. I'm selling the world. It was just movies.
Yeah.
And I got to travel and I was, it was again better than I had ever anticipated.
Oh, I bet. What did your husband have to say about that?
My Italian husband um did not like it. I'll
He
say that much.
didn't? Oh,
No.
I thought you were going to say, "Oh, this was like, it settled it out right then and there.
Yeah, no,
Meant
no.
to
He
be."
was more
No.
like, how am I going to have a wife that goes abroad? How am
Mm,
I going to be sitting here alone? I have a kid to take care of because we had
right.
a young child.
Yes.
And those dynamics started to cause a real problem between us.
Oh, I
And it was
bet.
not something he grew up with a wife traveling and going around the world. It was very difficult
Mm.
for
Even
him.
in even nowadays, it can be a little bit of a tricky dynamic. I hear, there are several podcasters I follow and I enjoy, and they're women, and their husbands are stay-at-home dads, and they talk a lot about those dynamics, and they're very difficult because, just the gender roles that we have. It can be really kind of tricky. So I do understand that. Well, okay, so tell us what happened next. You're full-fledged into this, but now
I'm
35 years
full-fledged into I
later.
worked with that company for only 1 year. And then I
Oh,
came to
okay.
LA and I started working with another company where I was there for 10 years and we made 150 action titles. I mean, we're
Wow.
talking just the beginning of the 90s. I mean, this
Mm,
was when mom and pop shops were just opening up. This is before Blockbuster. And we would go because we made action,
hmm.
Crash Boom Bam. I was the queen of action. And we would put on the market sold out. I mean, we would literally sell out the world.
Wow.
Every country in the world we had sold. And then the market
Wow.
started to change in 2000. And again, as I said, I was doing this for 10 years. I was so busy, I wasn't really paying attention to what my daughter was really watching because she's watching the Disney Channel or she's watching, I think, good content. And as I started sitting with her, I started seeing the innuendos. I wouldn't say it's blatant. It's more of an innuendo thing in the poor
Right.
kids when they're so young that they're not understanding. So I was thinking to myself, I have a voice. I do know the market. I've been in the international market for so many years, which I think the Lord gave me the time and grace to learn instead of just jumping in. Because you can't just go from, okay, I'm going to get into this market. You need to learn it. And then when the time came, he made everything work out. So I started doing it this way. Make sense?
Yes. Oh, it
I had was
does.
making 4 movies and usually we would make $1. I mean, with one day we spend, we make $4 back. And now all of a sudden, with the 2000 coming about, that whole thing flipped on us. We were not even
Mm,
making the dollar back. So my partner and I were fighting. And some people go to drink. Well, I went to a Bible study class.
mm,
And that's when I met Cindy Bond.
mhm.
And Cindy Mom and I started Mission Pictures. And it was, the kind of faith based films of the quality I wanted, not just to because of myself, but to give the alternative to the foreign buyers as well.
Mm.
So we
Wow.
started it.
And I have to say thank you. I'm sure you've been thanked a gazillion times over and that your job is extremely rewarding. But as a mom, I was a single mom for 20 years with 4 children. And one of my biggest struggles, which is one of the reasons I was so excited to have you on the show, just to even talk
Mhm.
about the dilemma that we face as parents trying to put wholesome entertainment in front of the eyes of our children. It's extremely difficult. Do you remember that device called TV Guardian? Do you remember
I think
that? You
so.
could, yeah,
I think
you
so.
could, it was like a way, and they have something very similar nowadays. I just can't think of the name of it, but you would connect it to your video player. And so if you were playing a movie, it would literally blank out like curse words, for example, and you could have the settings set there. But it was also a little bit, it would put a caption in when a curse word or some little thing that was off color was actually spoken. It would put something else in there in words. And I don't know if this is making sense, but it was like you could,
Yes.
they would, the sound would go off, but then you would read an alternative way of expressing whatever the actor said had said. And it was supposed to clean things up. But oftentimes my kids would be like, why did they say this way? Or what does this mean? And anyway, it was so cumbersome to try to do that. And it was the continuity in the movies. It was a little bit like, ugh, but it was the only thing we had. And it's either, well, we're not going to watch this, or we can watch it and try to, delete out those parts. And because I had kids that really varied in ages also, like I might have a and you know how that is, the appropriateness of a film for a 10-year-old versus a 15-year-old versus a 5-year-old, it was just so tricky for me. And finally to have, to be Angel Studios, all these, to be rising up to put out content that is without all the violence, all the gore, all the curse words, the sexual immorality. Goodness, it's just so refreshing. So thank you for your work.
Do you remember the Dove Awards? The Dove Awards used to be a good way. So most of when we started production, Cindy and I started production, all our movies were Dove awarded. So you knew you got 4 doves, and if they went to the grocery store, you could just pick up the movie and not have to worry. So that I always loved Dave and the organization. We contributed a lot to it, so I liked it a lot, just to help out, like you're saying, because you're so busy. I mean, between, like you said, you're taking care of 4 kids, you are trying to work, and I mean, there's only so much time in the day that we have that we can still try to monitor. I was a single mom, so it's hard.
Yeah, it's very hard, and I'm sure you have been frontline seat to all the changes in the media industry and the film industry. Has anything caught you off guard regarding, I mean, you spoke about innuendos, but anything else? I mean, now it seems more vital than ever to put forth wholesome content, because even you look at all the ratings, you know what I mean? I'm like, why is it okay for the F word to appear in a PG-13 movie? I mean, I really get on a high horse with all of this, but anything caught you by surprise, or I guess also, have you ever felt discouraged? Like, we can't win this battle? Has that ever entertained that thought?
I think I was very discouraged, like you said, the rating system. And for certain companies, they will strike you and get you and penalize you. But then a company that has a lot of money, they can just, oh yeah, and F word's fine, and this one's fine. And I'm like, okay, where's the balance here?
Exactly.
And the other thing I was very surprised at was that how much it was hard to get faith-based or even clean content into the buyers. For at least domestically, there was a real block of the people that acquire. So if you can't make content to sell out to somebody, and to know unless somebody's willing to give you a chance. And I was surprised with that.
How did
that
you
even
handle
like
that?
the companies, let's say Up TV, they do unbelievable numbers with the kind of content, and then they bring somebody new in, and that new person, oh no, I don't want to go in that direction. I want to go 25, and I'm going to go somebody else. And I'm like, why would you change your whole strategy as a channel of who you're marketing to then turn around and go, oh no, I'm going to go to 25 to 45-year-olds now, even though your whole market was 50 and above and knew how to target that. So these little things, it's these things that they just bring in new people, and it just, they have their own agenda. They have their own agenda, and I can say the Christian part is sometimes I've been put down very much sometimes. Oh, you're that kind of person.
Wow. Well, tell us then, Chevonne, how did you handle that kind of resistance and just the load? I mean, did you ever feel like giving up? And because to me, I see you as someone who's holding the torch. You are in the arena. You're not sitting in the stands just, criticizing someone. You are down there in the sand where it's hot and it's dirty and it's sweaty, and you continue to charge. But did you ever feel like, gosh, this is too big for me?
No, no. But what I did think, and it was fun doing it because I had Cindy Bond with me too. And Cindy,
Okay.
it's two girls trying to make this mission. It was finding ways to beat it. Let me put it that
Got
way.
it. Okay.
So a lot of our titles when we first started with Mission, we had acquired titles because we were just before we started producing our own. But I would have a lot of Pureflix's titles. Now,
Mhm.
when the foreign market would come in to make the most money out of it, the most money was television. Now, if you open a Bible or you start quoting from the Bible, the international channels cannot buy it
Oh
due to
my
the fact
goodness.
now you're saying one religion over another religion. Okay. So you want to make the most money for the producers so they make more content that's good. So we came up with another strategy. So when Pureflix was making movies, and we said, keep your content the way you need for your customers, but let's make an alternative one that is more general to the audience. So it's like they're seed planters. They're not
Gotcha.
so much changing, but the people will get the gist. And if they want the other version, they can get it. So if you're going to a scene and you're going to a minister and he opens the Bible and he quotes from it, do that same scene again. So yeah, the same time frames, same um, music and effects. You don't have to change that, but just do it with a friend and don't do it with the Bible. So we would call them two different versions. So then we could get the best monies and get it as a world seed planters instead of converting
Mm.
so much.
Oh
So
yeah.
we had both versions. And I think that helped us to start getting the big monies so the producers can make more movies. Because
Yeah,
that was
that's
one of the way they were trying to cut us out. Oh no, no, we don't want that kind of movie. So you can't sell it to us.
very clever. That's a very clever way to do it, and seems very,
Yes.
on the one hand, simple but effective and at least agreeable to the ones you had to convince to do it that way. So that's really good for you on that.
Mm.
Um, how about this question? Can you share an example of a film or any project that where you saw a profound impact on the viewer's faith or their values? Any one film stand out to you that was like
I,
over the top uber?
yes, I would. I would. I have only two, but I would say
Okay.
the one was when Cindy and I first started Mission. Now, when Cindy and I, because Cindy and I met over one of her animations, which is called the Ten Commandments. And I
Okay.
don't, as I said, I did action, so I didn't do Ten Commandments, but I took that movie worldwide, international, ended up selling the world on it.
Wow.
So I told Cindy, we can't just show up at a market just one time a year with one film. These buyers are really wanting this. We need to come in with the market with at least 6 to 10 of these movies a year. So that's when we started doing acquisitions. And the first year we showed up at the market. Now, when I say a market, I'm talking we have a booth, we have meetings, we have posters signed up. All the international buyers are coming into our booth to look. And it was the year 2008 when horror titles were really big
Oh,
and animals like dragons or eating, it was all these different type. And the
right.
international buyers come in because I have letters to God. I have to
Hmm.
save a life. I have
Right.
Noah's story. They walk in and they kind of go out going, who's selling these type of movies? It
Right.
was and first of all, they walk in, then they walked out, then they came back in, and then they're kind of like sitting down and going, "Oh, I never said this to anybody. This is all the stuff I've been wanting to buy."
Mm,
But the one title that I'm saying is To Save a Life. To
okay.
Save a Life. And I don't
Mhm.
know if you all seen the movie. It's a beautiful movie about a friend who commits suicide.
Mm,
And there's a book. And I was getting so many comments from people directly saying, thank you for showing this movie, having this book, because it let me talk with my son or my daughter, not
mm.
directly, but through the book. So
Wow.
they could blame the book if there was
Right.
something. But I was feeling this, but it's in the
Mm.
book. So it's not mom accusing or dad accusing. They could say something because the book had it and it was saving people's lives. It was just amazing.
So rewarding, so rewarding. Well, you are, would you describe yourself as ambitious? I mean, I think I would, but is that an adjective you would use, Chevonne?
Oh, yeah. Oh,
I
yeah.
yeah, I think
Yeah.
so.
I'm back
So
on my side.
yeah, some of our viewers and listeners would be like, okay, I've got this passion inside of me and I want to kind of take that next step, but maybe I don't know how to do that. When we look at your life and your example, what you've shared so briefly here is you've mentioned the hand of God along the way and just guiding you. And that moment, even when you release control and said, okay, Lord, just show me, take over the steering wheel here because I can't do this without you. And then from there, you've continued to persist and you're very resilient and determined in this quest and successful. But what about the gal who's listening who's like, wow, and some of the listeners are in their 20s and 30s. How might you encourage their hearts on just kind of taking a bite out of the pie, so to speak? What would you tell to that listener?
As I said, we all have to get up. You have to do your prayers in the morning. I mean, the one thing I learned when I visited the Middle East, and I used to have a house in Lebanon, and not that I'm Muslim, but the fact that they do take the time during the day to do it. And
Exactly.
I think it's just taking the time in the day, yes, to pray, but to also listen. It's
Mm,
listening to what he's trying to tell you. And I think my biggest thing is, and when he talks, he's loud. Wow. He kind of tells you what to do. And as long as I stop and I listen to it, and sometimes I question it. I think all of us do sometimes. Are you sure? Are you really
yeah,
sure this is
right.
the way? But
Right.
I don't feel scared. I don't feel scared. I just
Mm,
feel something's going to happen, even though sometimes you're just there and you're almost to the brink of nothing. But then out of nowhere, something will happen, or you'll meet somebody, or somebody will come in your path, and it all works out.
kind
So
of
I'm not trying to jump. I don't try to jump on the first bus. If the direction is supposed to be waiting, I'll wait and know that the direction that I'm going is the right bus to get on.
that is so encouraging, Chevonne. It's so wise, and it's just what the nun told you. Just give an hour. I mean, you said, "Hey, get into the Word, devote yourself to prayer and reading your Bible, and talking and communicating with God, and then also let Him run this show," which is so hard for so many of us. But that surrender, that element of
It is.
surrender and waiting and listening, that's so encouraging. It encourages my heart so much. So tell everyone how they might be able to support you or get in touch with you. Your YouTube channel, I mean, like, what the hey, it's got something like, how many viewers do you have over there? It's like huge.
I
So
have 676,000
good
subscribers.
grief, good
I
grief.
know, very exciting. I would love for you all to subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's called ACI on the Go. And we
Mhm.
have over 200 titles that are content clean. We have Dove Awards that you can see, which on the Dove Awards, we got romances, we got some thrillers. We got some action titles too. So it's really, there's a variety of different titles
Mhm.
on it. And I am making 10 titles this year within the 18 months of new films. So if somebody is thinking of making a movie or point of subscribers thinking of doing it, before they do it and after they listen to themselves, but also talk to a distributor. A distributor can kind of guide you to get the best out of your monies that if you're going to spend to do it, and just tell you really what's happening in the market today, because things keeps changing. Anybody who says they got it, they're wrong. It keeps changing on a daily basis, but at least the distributors are in the market and they know what's happening, so they can help you modify, curve it, change it. And you can also follow me because I'm on Instagram, Chevonne, AmericanCinemaInspires.com, giving advice on how I make 10 movies within 10 months. I mean, 18 months. 10 months.
Yeah.
18 months.
Yeah. Well, that's 10 or 18. My goodness, 18. Goodness. And you're also on Facebook, I think.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah. So,
and they can DM me. They can ask me any questions they have. Yeah.
Well, a distributor, would that be like an agent for an author? Kind of.
Kind of.
Okay.
Because I used a couple of my movies. We did books. But what we've been doing lately, because if you look at a book, it's going to be 300 and some pages. And a movie's about 92 pages. So you're taking about 200 and some pages out of the book.
Wow.
So what we've been doing with our writers and authors is we'll write the script first, and then they'll write the religious version of it. So I'm now fighting with taking out so many pages of a script. Not that they've ever complained, but you're taking a big chunk of what the basis of the book is out.
Oh, wow. That's a clever way to go about it too. So, wow, so many awesome things happening. So ACI On The Go is the YouTube channel. And it's such a treat that you share that with everyone. So thank you so much, Chevonne, for coming on the Choose to Think podcast. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much for all your work and what you're doing.
Thank you.
And that's a wrap, Brain Changer. And listen, if you like what you hear, would you leave us a 1 to 2 sentence review at Apple Podcasts? Share the link with a friend or tag me on your share on social media. It would mean the world to me and would help us to keep shining the light of Christ and sharing the good news to others who are in need of encouragement. Please visit us on our website at choosetothink.co. That's with the number 2, choosetothink.co, to get on our monthly newsletter list. And if you need a guest speaker for your next women's retreat or church event, I'm your gal. Email me at choosetothink@gmail.com, and that's with the number 2, choosetothink@gmail.com. Finally, I offer limited free mentoring sessions each month where you and I can chat to help you develop a strategy for your thoughts in any area of your life. I'm a certified life coach and I have something to share. Visit choosetothink.co and click on mentoring for more details. Also, keep in mind that the messages on this show are for informational and educational purposes only. Please consult your medical doctor for all medical issues. Thank you again for tuning in. God bless you.